The story begins with an introduction of one line, "I am 8 years old and I kill people." A 7 or 8-year-old boy was riding his cycle talking to his mom on the phone. He tells his mom that he will come home late tonight because their homeroom teacher has given them some raffle tickets to sell. Nearby, someone was hiding behind the tree, watching Jeremy. Someone has told him to come to this abandoned place. Jeremy was told that it's worth coming here, so he can palm all of his tickets off on them. Right then, Jeremy's cycle's tire gets stuck in wires on the road and falls down, hitting a tree. Jeremy didn't get injured, but his cycle was a mess now. And top it all off, it's going to dark soon here in the Hickland. He tries to call someone but then learns that there's no signal here. While walking forward, he stumbles upon a tree that had a lot of signs attached to it, all pointing at a spooky building. Coincidentally, all the signs were as follows. "We'll purchase all your old raffle tickets and we fix bikes." Jeremy is instantly convinced reading those signs and happily runs toward the house. He opens the door of the building and says his name and mentions that he has good news. He says that he picked the person living in this house to participate in the school's raffle. He also adds that this is not a dream. As he walked around the house, a boy that was watching him near the trees was also following him here. While exploring, he literally found a zombie taking food from the fridge. Jeremy gets scared after seeing it and quickly finds a phone. He tries to call someone but sees that the phone doesn't have any buttons. It was an old-fashioned phone, so Jeremy didn't know how to use it. Leaving the phone behind, he walks around the building and accidentally tripped on a wire and fell down. Because of that, the table with which the wire was attached also fell down. From the table, a lot of raffle tickets fell down. But Jeremy didn't care about them. He quickly freed himself and decided to leave the house. At that moment, he realized that he's been tricked and now trapped in this farmhouse. Right behind him, Norman walked in, holding a knife in his hand. The next moment, shouts and sounds of cutting and thrusting rang in the house. Next morning, just another ordinary day at the school. Their homeroom teacher asks a boy named Olga why they hardly sold any tickets. Olga's answer is that the prizes really sucks. Hearing that, the teacher gets angry and hits him with an eraser. The teacher says that the grand prize would have been something better than paper flower bouquets. Miss Jameson's expressions quickly changed when a rich girl named Grace gave her a check. Grace says that Herbert wrote her a check for the lot in their family as they don't do door-to-door. Miss Jameson happily accepts the check and asks Grace to give a kiss to her father from her. Then, she turns to the rest of the class and tells them that they made a serious mistake for not taking this more seriously. She asks them that they should start learning how to beg as their grades are so low. Saying that, she turns to a named Sylvia and asks her if her father gives any lessons on begging. Next, Miss Jameson collects money from all the students one by one. Owen has sold tickets worth $4 and Miss Jameson also mentions that the amount of money they make will be their grades in the next quiz. Alice has sold tickets worth $2 which would increase her grades a little above average. Bader has sold tickets worth $0. Miss Jameson is angry and asks him to give her one reason why she shouldn't smack him. Bader says the glass, but Miss Jameson didn't care. She slaps which sends his glasses flying away. Next is Jeremy's turn. But when Miss Jameson reaches his table, she just finds a letter sitting there. As she asks why Jeremy isn't in his seat, Norman starts to shout. He shouts loudly saying Jeremy disappeared. Hearing that, Miss Jameson suggests he keep his voice low or she'll make him lap around the school in his underwear. I just noticed that Norman has a little devil sitting in his head that only he can see. Miss Jameson opens the letter and while she reads it, Norman thinks that he will be caught. His devil also mock him by saying he really kept his cool just now. The writing in the letter is as follows. I have run away with the money from the raffle. There is no need to look for me. I'm never coming back. The writing is so bad that it took me some time to understand it. In the end, there's a face of Jeremy showing middle finger like a bad boy. Obviously, the letter was written by Norman to save himself from getting caught and it worked. Miss Jameson is really angry after reading the letter and calls someone. As the receiver picks up the phone, Miss Jameson calms down and says that she's Jeremy's homeroom teacher. Before she could finish saying that their son Jeremy had disappeared, she heard crying noises coming from the phone. Jeremy's parents are crying asking where their son is. Miss Jameson asks them to not cry and says a popular saying, you win some, you lose some. She says that she knows that the loss of a child is always such a pain. Hearing that, the parents started crying more, saying Jeremy was their only son and asking Miss Jameson if she understands. At that moment, Miss Jameson's expressions change and she says she can't care less about their little problems. She only knows that she has 20 raffle tickets out there somewhere. After the class, Grace acts like a heroine, saying her Jeremy would have never left without her. She says that he must have been kidnapped and he is so handsome. Right then, Olga mentions something shocking. He says that he saw on the TV that 80% of the children that disappear for more than 48 hours are later found dead and naked in a ditch. Hearing that, Grace shouts, asking how much time has passed since Jeremy disappeared. Seeing her like that, Alice asks Olga to tell them about the other 20% as well. Olga says that the other 20% are buried, so it takes longer to find them. Grace starts to cry after hearing that. After that, the scene shifts to Norman and his little devil walking home together. While walking, the devil was happy because everything ended well. Norman says that it's not over yet. They still have to bury their uncle in the garden. Norman mentions that his uncle came out of his hole again last night. The demon suggests that they should dig deeper this time. The demon also suggests that they should let the zombie walk free in the house as it's funny and that zombie isn't dangerous as well. But Norman disagrees, saying that the zombie always raids the fridge. So it turned out that the zombie that was roaming around in that house was Norman's uncle. Right then, they noticed Jeremy's missing poster on the wall. Seeing that, Norman was really happy because their day went successfully and the result of what they did last night was good. At that moment, Miss Jameson appeared on the scene. She quickly changed Jeremy's missing poster with a wanted poster and left immediately. In the next scene, Olga was trying to guess the password to enter the girls' meeting. She says many things like Grace is happy, Grace is heroic, or Grace is a tease. But in the end, no password work. Because of that, Grace opens the door herself and tells Olga the password, which is Olga is a shit, and then closes the door even though she saw it was Olga. Inside, Grace asks Alice why they let Olga join the club in the first place. Alice answers that they let her join because running a club with only 2 members would be humiliating. Now that Olga knows the password, he is able to enter the room and they start their meeting. First, Grace shows off her expensive phone and then they make a plan on how to find Jeremy. Grace suggested that they should interview other students and find witnesses. First, they decided to ask Sylvia. Grace says hello to her and mentions that they're conducting an investigation and have a few questions for her about Jeremy's disappearance. She also adds that for the reason of hygiene, they will keep their distance from her. But Sylvia ignores them and tries to play with the cat who is eating her food. As the cat gets distracted for a second, the food from her plate disappears. Sylvia was always trying to disturb the cat just to eat her food. So that's why they call her dirty. Realizing that their way of conducting interviews is bad, Grace suggested that one of them will play a good cop and one of them will be a bad cop like they see in movies. Deciding that, they went to meet Norman. First, Sylvia, like a good person, asks him where he saw Jeremy last time. Norman was eating his sandwich and asked Alice to be more specific. Right then, Grace walks forward, playing the role of bad cop. She rudely asks Norman to not play with her and also mentions that she has taken down tougher men than him. At that moment, the devil advised Norman to be vague and stretch out the answers as long as possible. Like that, she will eventually leave him and move on. Hearing its advice, Norman pretends to remember and then says Jeremy was a normal guy. Hearing the word was, Grace immediately asks him if he's dead. This mad Norman almost choked to death as sandwich bites got stuck in his throat. The devil also makes fun of him, shouting for someone to come and see the stupidest killer in the entire galaxy who confessed in less than 5 seconds. During class, Norman was really worried because Grace might find out that he's the killer. But contrary to that, Grace is already moving on. She is trying to get the attention of the least ugly guy in the classroom, Owen. She was trying to talk to him when a paper ball fell on her head. Grace picks up the paper, reads it, and then just throws it away without thinking about it. As she was about to talk to Owen again, another paper fell on her head. This time when she read it, she got really angry. Norman, who has his face dug inside the book, says that if she comes toward them, it will mean that their plan worked. And as he thinks that, Grace angrily comes toward his desk. She angrily asks him to apologize within 3 seconds. She asks Olga to count down, but Olga's counting was really bad. Still, Grace beats some sense into Norman because he didn't apologize. In the next scene, Norman happily walks with Grace toward the sandbox. After taking her to the edge of the big sand hill, he pushes her down, killing her. After that, Norman will bury her in the sand, ending her story. He tells his plan to the devil, but he isn't convinced. Ignoring him, Norman tries to talk to Grace and invites her to come and play in the sandbox with him. Instead of just refusing him, Grace asks him to explain why a refined young lady like her should go and scratch around in a little sandbox. Norman tries to explain that it's not a little sandbox, But Grace refuses to listen to him and leaves. Standing in the park with her little gang, she was waiting for her phone to ring. After some time, her phone actually rang as she received a message from Owen. Owen asks Grace to meet him at midnight at school. He also tells her to come alone in the message. Grace decided to play hooky that afternoon. She wanted to leave plenty of time to make herself perfect for her date. With stars in her eyes, already imagining her new life, she forgot to say goodbye to her friends. Which is a shame, as it would be the last time she would see them. Behind her, Owen was wondering who stole his phone. Meanwhile, Miss Jameson is sitting in a bar. While drinking alcohol, she is trying to forget her disastrous life. She points out how Grace played hooky today and she couldn't even stop her. Hearing her stories, bartender Manny even gives her a glass of beer for free. Suddenly, she starts crying and the bartender asks her if she's crying because of Grace. She says that she doesn't care about Grace, it's Grace's father that hurt her. Miss Jameson decides to reveal something and asks bartender Manny to promise her to not tell it to anyone else. His name is Herbert, Grace's dad. Him and Miss Jameson had a deal. She would guarantee his daughter Grace a good fortune by giving her good grades in exchange for him supporting her. Herbert took her to really classy places, because not only is Herbert single, he is also rich. At the end of each date, they were already looking forward to the next one. Little by little, we fell in love. Though she did get the feeling there was something wrong. Seeing Herbert's face, it doesn't feel like he's enjoying spending time with Jameson. One day, she went to Herbert's house and entered without ringing. Jameson called Herbert again and again, but no response. So she walked into the next room and there she saw a woman plaster all over the walls. Manny imagined that the woman's body parts were hanging like scenery, but Jameson quickly tells the real thing. There were a lot of pictures of one blonde woman. Jameson realized that Herbert was fixated on a woman and it wasn't her. Suddenly, Herbert came in and he looked pretty annoyed. Luckily, she heard him coming and quickly hid in the closet. Herbert was holding a big bag. As he put it down, blonde hairs were sticking out of it that Jameson saw. Then, Herbert injected the person inside with something and left. Jameson thinks that the woman inside the box was Herbert's own daughter that he himself killed. While Jameson was thinking that she wouldn't see Grace ever again, Grace was happily running on the road. After reaching the place where Owen called her, she sees that the whole place is decorated with plastic. As she calls it romantic, she receives a call on her phone. She picks it up and someone tells her that she's going to die today, but she ignores it. Grace thinks that it's a prank call and says that she will not get scared with just this much. Before she hangs up, Norman asks her to tell him her name. When Grace asks the reason, Norman tells her that he wants to know the name of the person who he is watching. Hearing that, Grace shouts, asking if this is Owen and he just called her here to prank her. Normal, who is hiding under the table, realizes that she's got furious instead of getting scared. Grace then warns the caller and hangs up the one. Right then, Norman comes out and jumps at her. Even though Norman was wearing a mask, Grace quickly identified him. She lifts up his mask and asks him what he's doing here. Before he could answer, Grace starts pushing him out, asking him to not ruin her date. Suddenly, a question arises in Grace's mind and she asks him what he's doing at school in the middle of night. She starts to realize what's going on here and calls Owen to confirm it. As expected, Norman had stolen Owen's phone and now it's ringing in his pocket. Grace asks him why he was pretending to be Owen. She assumes that Norman is trying to hit on her. But she makes fun of him, saying why would a girl like her have a thing for him? She says that even if this were a desert island, she wouldn't have given him a chance. She asks him if she looks like a social worker and starts laughing maniacally. Suddenly, her laugh gets disturbed. Norman pierces her stomach with a knife. Instead of thinking about her life, she punches Norman, saying he dirted her shirt which would cost more than Norman would earn in his lifetime. Saying that, she takes out the knife from her stomach. Because of that, a blood fountain starts to pour out of her stomach. She asks Norman to do something. Norman runs in panic and brings back a pot to collect the blood. While Grace is struggling to stay up, Norman asks the devil what will be worse for her, bleeding out or the broken rib. After thinking for a moment, the devil says that she's most upset about her intestines getting caught in the door. As she finally collapses to the ground, Norman wears an apron and brings out a saw. Before Norman started his work, the devil asked him to make sure if she was dead. The devils say that they don't cut people alive as they're not animals. So to confirm it, Norman moves forward and makes sure that she's dead. After completing their work, Norman locks the door and walks out of the place. While the devil and he were talking, Norman accidentally bumps into someone and falls down. The person he bumped into was Miss Jameson. She was so drunk that she didn't realize what was in front of her. While walking, she hit the pole and started shouting at it, accusing it of fondling her balloons. Realizing that Miss Jameson is drunk, Norman quickly runs away. The next morning, just another ordinary day at the local school. Miss Jameson, who has turned gray for some reason, crosses out the Grace name from the register and also puts a skull emoji next to her name. Then, Miss Jameson gets up and says that today's a special day, so there won't be any classes. She asks students to guess and Olga answers that she's drunk, that's why she's skipping classes. In response, Miss Jameson throws an eraser at her, but because she is drunk, she misses the target. Then, she writes on the board why today's a special day. So today is Sylvia's birthday. Everyone, wish her happy birthday in the comment and subscribe for the next part.